All right, we got part 2 of Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz sitting down speaking approximately the future of the XRP ledger. Are you equipped? Let's get into it. So a number of you can realize this is meant to be a communique, and my approach has been I simply hold asking him questions. I do not need to answer questions. That's an amazing inform us about the USP, Brolin. Well, it is a good segue due to the fact you understand as we consider decentralized finance and the important additives, we've manifestly mentioned some right here, but having a strong, on XRPL stablecoin and enabling both powerful on-ramps, off-ramps liquidity around that is obviously pivotal. And I assume what you've got visible, there may be a number of successful stablecoins out there, and I assume those aren't going away. But I assume both market universal is possibly to develop significantly. Perhaps it is 150 to 170 billion USD, and some human beings suppose it will be north of 2 trillion or more than T-show, or more than 10x inside the next 5 years. And I suppose Ripple has continually been centered on sort of a compliance first, lots of transparency. And when you consider the things which might be so important in the achievement of a stable coin, masses of transparency, compliance first, the ones are truly vital things. And I assume the fulfillment Ripple has had running with monetary institutions, I suppose units up or RLUSD or Ripple USD for success. And once more, we think it facilitates the general XRPL surroundings because it simply adds liquidity on ledger. So we are excited about that. We are very near. I think earlier today, anyone requested me for a timeline. I simply stated weeks now, not months, because of you understand, however, we are getting there quite fast, and we simply need to ensure we launch with form of full regulatory oversight out of the gates to preserve everybody glad. But I assume you understand why they are looking to make sure that everything is compliant, right? They are Ripple deals with banks and financial institutions as their customers, right? It's now not retail clients that they may be managing. It's the banks and monetary institutions. And while you're dealing with that excessive of caliber of, you realize money finance or money switch, organizations like that, they want to ensure they could pass all their T's, dot all their I's, and that they realize where the entirety is. It must be compliance. If you look at USDT, right? And this isn't to pick on Tether, however, Tether has had a few problems and FUD around them not having an audit and no audit in their backing of their stablecoin, right? And so when you have $115 billion stablecoin and you cannot verify the cash that's supporting proper, because if, let's say, it got here out, right? And this is, as an example, shall we embrace it got here out, that Tether most effective has perhaps $50 billion or 75 billion backing their solid coin, right? That may want to collapse their strong coin. It can be catastrophic. And the most effective reason to me, which you might not have those right due diligence tests for your very own, is in case you realize something's wrong there, right? If you deep down realize that your enterprise isn't always doing something incorrect and that the whole thing is compliant and you have the cash to back up this, you'll go out of your way to make sure that each one of this stuff is done. And so you can show the enterprise what's up. Here's all of the stuff it's showing that we are compliant. Now with Ripple, they may be ensuring that they're doing the entirety that Tether's no longer doing prematurely. So they haven't any of those query marks because they can't have their question marks on their stable coin while they're dealing with financial tuitions and banks. Personally, what I suppose is going to manifest right here is similar to Ripple built out banking software and era, after which significant bank virtual forex era. Then they are constructing out tokenization in places that banks can keep their virtual assets, right? With Medeco. And now they are doing a stablecoin technology where I think you are going to have Ripple strong coin. But I suppose what they're also going to do right here is provide banks the same era where banks can build their strong coins on pinnacle of the XRP ledger, right, and have that price live on the XRP ledger, similar to Ripple stablecoins RLUSD goes to. That's wherein I assume this is going. And I'm simply using kind of Ripple's playbook and what they finished with era earlier than to suppose that, hi there, this makes feel that they're going to do this. But that is why I suppose they're going compliance first. And I know that become actually lengthy answer, but I wish that gave you some context in my thought technique and all this. High first rate, strong coins at the XRP ledger is just, I imply, we recognize from different platforms that once they have excessive quality stable coins on there, total value locked increases, transaction flow will increase, liquidity will increase. It's only a key permitting generation. And it is only an outstanding example of that thing in which, like, the stablecoin issuers are some of the maximum regulated entities in the world. If you examine Circle, if you study what Ripple, the hoops Ripple is having to jump via to launch RLUSD, probable no person on this room will ever be able to do commercial enterprise with Ripple without delay to get RLUSD. You'll get it through exchanges due to the fact we must undergo all of those complicated regulations for who we can do enterprise with. And what is exciting approximately that, though, is that if you have a look at Circle USD, that's the equal issue. You already know, many of you likely have USDC, however you did not get it from Circle. You got it from an exchange or to procure it on a decentralized exchange or in some way. What's thrilling is that you may by no means do enterprise with Circle. You will in no way be a direct Circle purchaser. You will by no means have an account at Circle. And yet Circle's tremendously regulated product permits huge DeFi ecosystems, which are absolutely nameless. I mean, there might be terrorists in them, possibly, we hope no longer. You recognize there can be, but they don't do enterprise with Circle. And I suppose you'll see that same issue. We have actual DeFi ecosystems which might be enabled. Real international asset tokenization is going to be the identical way. The entities which might be going to problem, should we embrace US treasuries as tokenized, you're going to have to onboard with them and undergo, you recognize your customer and have to have cash laundering. But in case you put that during a pool on a DeFi device and also you retokenize it or use it as collateral for a mortgage, you're going to have, this is what we mean via institutional DeFi, those institutional regulated merchandise that on decentralized layer ones. Permit these TFIUs instances that are nameless, pseudonymous, and less regulated. Well, so I think that also brings up, I imply, one of the things I do not suppose you can have expected, and honestly, when I joined Ripple in 2015, I could not have expected, is simply the boom of real global belongings on chain. And manifestly, a stablecoin is an instance of that. But we are seeing a gaggle of other examples around that. And so I suppose one of the things that has amazed me the maximum in the previous couple of years is seeing Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, publicly, yeah, that is certainly one of the largest asset managers on the planet, publicly lean into his belief around tokenization of actual global property as a profound opportunity. And as a number of you guys recognize, and I assume honestly, David and I frolic speaking approximately, we've had a bunch of bulletins on this front. Open Eden most recently doing the tokenization, US treasuries. I think Ripple may or may not have not begun publicly introduced. We're absolutely going to allocate and purchase approximately $10 million, well worth open to even us treasuries, so one can be sort of the on-chain version, if you will. But also, one of the things we announced at our closing Apex, our developer convention, become a courting with Arcad, and I think he's on degree later these days. Is that proper? Do you realize that? No, I'm now not positive. All right, I suppose I'm intended to provide a plug around that. But I'm curious, I mean, any other surprises from you on actual international assets, both why it has taken lengthy or why it's going on speedy? What's your mind? I think the biggest wonder for me is how speedy the important players seem to experience that this would be inevitable. They went from cryptos, a whole bunch of scams, and it is in no way going to threaten TradFi to beginning to see that, like we see polls where these institutional gamers believe that that is virtually going to manifest. And the thrilling component approximately this is meaning that they want to establish defensible positions, and I think that kind of segues interestingly into our play in custody with the purchase of Medeco to place ourselves in a role to, you know, folks that trouble actual global property, they're not going to all need to build their own structures and control and all that. Well, I assume that's superb important. You recognize, whilst you reflect on consideration on where in Ripple strategy is, how will we continue to assist, propel, and help the XRP? Infrastructure custody is, for my part, something extraordinarily vital, no longer only for the XRPL, however, for the industry overall. And if you accept as true